And now for the moment that we've all been waiting for, the induction of the class of 2013 into the Triton Athletic Hall of Fame. The class of 2013 have set themselves apart from the many coaches, athletes, and contributors of Triton High School. And tonight we will honor and recognize these individuals by officially inducting them into the Triton Athletic Hall of Fame. We'll begin tonight with William Moriarty. William Bill Moriarty graduated from Tippecanoe High School in 1943. Bill was married to Lorraine Moriarty, who lost her life in a car accident in 1993. Bill and Lorraine had 4 children, Janet, Richard, Karen, and Michelle, and 7 grandchildren. Just after graduation from high school, Bill began driving the bus as a substitute bus driver for the Tippecanoe schools. He drove as a substitute until he was hired full-time in August of 1957. Bill drove for Tippecanoe schools until the consolidation with Bourbon and Etna Green in 1963. At that time, he became a full-time bus driver for the Triton School Corporation until his retirement in 2007 after 49 years of service to our schools. Many people know Bill from his days as the owner of Moriarty's Market in Tippecanoe. As owner of the local grocery store, Bill had little time to be driving athletic trips. But when he sold the grocery store after 30 years of ownership, he would drive every athletic trip he could. In fact, Bill has 2 state championship rings as a bus driver for the girls' state championship teams in 2000 and 2001. Bill has supported the Triton Athletic Department in more ways than just driving to athletic events. Bill is one of the most loyal Triton fans that you'll find, and he can be found at every girls' and boys' basketball game. He's usually the first one to arrive and always brings with him that contagious smile. Bill has displayed the true meaning of being a contributor and has always showed his Trojan pride. The Triton Athletic Department is proud to say that we had the best bus driver in Bill Moriarty. Accepting the award tonight is Bill Moriarty himself. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Bill Moriarty. Bill, do you want to come up and say a few things? Bill told me no speeches. And evidently he wasn't lying. Nothing to say. All right. Bill, I don't think you really set the right tone. I don't think you sent the right message. Don't think any of you other ones are getting out of this. Bill's the senior inductee here, so we're going to let that slide. But the rest of you, yes, you, Mark, are going to have to do it. Otherwise, it's going to be a short night. I can remember when I was a small boy, I lived out on Summit Chapel Hill for a short time. And Bill drove the route that went past our home. We moved to town a couple months into that first school year for me, so I didn't get to ride on Bill's route for long. But I'll never forget those few short months riding the bus with Bill. I was fortunate enough to have my path cross Bill's again when I got to high school. And Bill was driving so many of those athletic trips that we talked about. And Bill took me to many basketball games and track meets and anything that he could. He's one of the greatest, and I really say that with all my heart. When I see him walk into the gym, I can't help but smile because he is, and I think that that's just an awesome thing. I thank Bill for everything that he's done for me and so many people in our community. Your warm greeting each morning, Bill, and the kind farewell at the end of each day might have been the nicest words that those students riding your bus heard each day. You may never truly know the impact that you had on some of those students, but because of the creation of this Hall of Fame, your efforts will not be forgotten. Thank you very much, Bill, and congratulations. Kenneth Buzz Keller was a graduate of Hobart High School. He went on to further his education at Ball State University and earned a master's degree from Valparaiso University. Ken was married to Gloria Black. Together, they had 4 children: Ramona Keller, Maria Keller, Cindy Keller Schaefer, and Kenneth Keller Jr. They have 3 grandchildren. Ken was a Bourbon resident for 45 years. He was a veteran who served in the United States Army during the Korean War. He also taught shop, earth science, and was the guidance counselor and athletic director at Triton High School. He retired from Triton in 1993. Ken was an avid sports fan and was an IHSA official in basketball, baseball, football, cross country, and track. He also was in charge of the construction of our current baseball field, named in his honor, Ken Keller Field. Ken always put Triton athletics in front of himself, and his dedication and commitment to Triton athletics was unmatched. Ken passed away on Wednesday, October 24th, 2012, just 2 days after our selection committee selected Ken into the Athletic Hall of Fame. Although Ken is not with us tonight to celebrate this honor, we will forever remember Ken as a major contributor to Triton Athletic, to not only Triton Athletics, but to interscholastic athletics in general. Ken was one of a kind, and we were so lucky to have him as a member of the Triton family. Accepting the award tonight on his behalf are his daughters Ramona, Maria, Cindy, and his grandson Craig. Please join me in welcoming the Keller family. I'd like to congratulate the Keller family, and at this time we will officially induct Kenneth Keller into the Triton Athletic Hall of Fame.
Well, like he said, some of the stuff I'm going to repeat. My dad was born in Hobart, graduated from Hobart. He was a Hobart Brickie. After going to school at Hobart, he proceeded to go to the war. After going to war, he came back and went to Ball State. Then he went to Kennard, which is where my grandfather hired him as the basketball coach for Kennard High School, and that's where he met my mother. Isn't that funny? From Kennard, we went to Madison, Indiana, where I came along. Then we moved to Sinking Springs, Ohio, because when your dad is a basketball coach, track coach, football coach, everything, because back then you did it all. You didn't have one, you did them all. So we moved around a lot, because if you lost too many games, you weren't allowed to be the coach anymore. So we moved to Sinking Springs, Ohio, where my sister Cindy was born. We were there for quite a while. He also did track, baseball, and basketball there. Then we moved to North Judson, Indiana, where my other 2 siblings come in, Kenny and Maria. And that's when he started going to school at Valparaiso, Indiana, for his master's in guidance counseling. He was guidance counselor at North Judson for quite a few years. Then we came to Bourbon, when it was still Bourbon. He was the guidance counselor. Then he moved to athletic department, with athletic being his thing that he truly loves. Living in a house with him was crazy some days. All you heard about was the Cubs or the Bears. You know, and I didn't know that there was that many sports on 24/7. Honest to God, I never saw anybody who could watch sports 24/7. It drove me nuts. So while we were in Bourbon, he went from athletic director to teaching earth science and shop, or industrial arts. Industrial arts is where he got the name Buzzsaw. And they called him Buzz for short, which then brings up the next one. The girls, us, we became the Buzzettes. Thank Rick Feist for that one. He thought that was so funny, the Buzzettes. Well, it is sort of, I guess. So while he was doing earth science and shop, he took over being baseball coach. Then he built the ticket booth, the concession stand, and the ball diamond, and didn't get anything for those. He did those because he wanted to help the school. There were times being a track starter that he would not take money for doing his job because he loved sports so much, and he wanted to give the money back to the athletic departments. So to me, that's saying a lot. This man, in the summertime, would not only run out of things to do, so he had to teach driver's training not only at Triton, but at the Bremen High School also, because he just couldn't stand to sit still, and he wanted to help young kids learn how to drive properly. and thank God he wasn't my instructor. While he was the baseball coach at Triton, he got his CDL license because he wanted to cut costs for the school so he could drive the school bus and take the kids to their games, which I thought was pretty nice. And of course, then he always got us, when he was athletic director, to take money or be the bad girl or something so he didn't have to pay anybody, which was pretty smart. So we went to a lot of track meets and baseball games and things with him. At the end, he did a lot of watching TV, refereeing in his lounge chair with the Pekingese on the end, putting my lab on the couch, and they would discuss the games together. A month after he left, my lab died from a broken heart from losing my father, spending 24/7 with him, which was very hard. But they were good buddies. But not in their afternoons, besides watching sports, they had to watch 2 hours of Texas Walker, because that was very important, you know. He also received 4 awards while he was still doing track, and he did not quit doing refereeing until he was 83 years old. The first one he got was the Marshall County track meet in 1994. Also in 1994, he had the Northern State Conference Outstanding Service Award. In 1999, the Marv Wood Memorial Award that he received December 3rd, presented by Fox 28. The last one he got was the Northern Lakes Conference for the IHSAA, presented in 1978 until October of 2008. I never saw anybody who was so dedicated to young people, to kids wanting to learn how to do things. He took his time to help kids get into college, to do sports. So I have a lot of respect for him. Some days I got a little tired of the sports, but it was worth it. Thank you very much.
I didn't know a lot of those things that she just talked about, but it gave me some ideas for when my own kids get a little bit older. Maybe when they aren't doing what mom or dad says, they'll have to spend a night taking tickets. We often run short on those. Ken started almost all of my cross-country and track meets as a student athlete at Triton. And when I was hired as athletic director, I continued that practice of hiring Ken to start all those meets. And as she said, Ken would never accept a check. Ken would always give that check back to me and say, put it in the athletic funds. You guys need it more than I do. There was one day in particular, though, that Ken showed me just exactly the kind of person that he was. He was starting to meet for us, and he asked me if he could purchase one of the stopwatches that we had. It was a stopwatch that printed out times for each individual runner. I told him, I said, well, yeah, I can get one of those for you, but I want you to know they're like $350. And he said, that's okay, I'll buy it. I couldn't figure out why Ken wanted this, because you see, starters don't have anything to do with the time. They're just there to start the race, and at the end of the race, if 2 student athletes are close, they make a decision on who won and who lost. So why was he needing this stopwatch? Well, I finally asked him, Ken, why do you need this? He said, well, I'm starting a race at LaVille in a couple of weeks. They don't have one of those stopwatches, and I want to donate one to them. It really struck me, because I thought, here's a guy who had no true connection to LaVille, but yet he was willing to spend $350 to buy that watch for him. I was impressed by Ken's random act of kindness. And I think that Ken's act showed exactly the kind of contributor that he was, not only to our school, but to society. And that's what made Ken so special. I regret that Ken was not able to be with us tonight to celebrate this, but I know that he would be proud of his accomplishments. And I thank him for all that he has done for our country as a serviceman, our school as a teacher, guidance counselor, and athletic director, and for interscholastic athletics as an IHSA official. I also want to give a special thanks to Ken's family for being here tonight. Coach Mark Heater